Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into part 1 of the 8th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, it's time to bring you another winter update in 2 parts. Part 2 of this winter update, of course, will be released tomorrow at 6 PM, and that'll be focusing on the analog side of the update. But this one is going to be looking at things again, like solar activity, sea surface temperature anomalies, what's happening with hurricane season, lots and lots of stratospheric data for this one, and we will go through all of the Eurasian snow cover charts as well. That'll be much more included too. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and I shall get on with part 1 of the 8th Winter 2021-2022 update for you in a moment. Just to say that first video we said was our 7 AM broadcast, and we're going to be live streaming from 6 PM this evening, so I'm sure you have a lot of questions about this 8th update. I'll endeavour to take as many of those as I can, and of course you'll probably have questions from last week's 7th update as well, so I will have a go answering a few of those also. And it's a sunny live stream, so we've got to show you some long range. We'll show you the Beijing Climate Centre and CFS-V2, and if that wasn't enough, we will include a 10 to 14 day in that as well. So it's going to be an epic live stream that'll be coming up at 6 o'clock this evening. Thank you so much to Richard and to Shryan for all the help on this update. Thank you so much to Richard, for the winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Rich. I love the gift this year. Thank you so much, our winter updates gift. And in a moment, you're going to see, the swingometer. That's the first thing you'll see for this 8th update. So you'll find out how last week's epic. It was epic, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Last week's 7th update was epic. You'll find out how last week's epic 7th update has moved the swingometer, if indeed it has. So that's the first thing that we'll be looking at. Also, thank you so much to Shryan when we get to the sections, but Richard and Shryan have helped with, of course. I shall give both Rich and Shryan a nice shout out. It's going to be quite a long video, as well as with the long-range stuff, so you can't watch it all and go, don't worry, there will be various breaks put in as we go along the way, so you'll be able to go, I'll stretch your legs and then come back, maybe, whenever you like, and pick up the video where you left off, so that's not a problem whatsoever, and you'll be able to locate this video within the Winter Updates playlist on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage, so check that out if you'd like to do that. All of Winter Updates are included in that playlist. Right, I think that's pretty much everything I've got to tell you. So we're cracking on with Winter Updates. We're over halfway now. We've gone past the halfway point with this update. So yeah, remember, business end of the Winter Updates. They're going to get ever more serious from here. And eventually we are going to release our winter forecast on Thursday, the 2nd of December. But yeah, it's epic. Been an epic year of updates so far. We still have so much more to show you. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with it all of this time for so long. And we've got plenty more left to show you. Right, so I think we better start this 8th Winter 2021-2022 update. So the first thing we're going to start with, of course, is going to be the swingometer. So, of course, we have that epic 7th update. Perhaps one of the best winter updates that we've ever done. I'm not sure, but it's certainly up there, I think, with the very, very best of GavsWeatherVids content. I was so proud of the effort from Richard and from Terry and from Shryan and from Savvy, with that 7th update. It was GavsWeatherVids firing on all cylinders. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of the people who helped with that 7th update. And now you're going to see how that epic solar special 7th update has moved the swingometer, if it has. So let's count this down, shall we? Very, very exciting, isn't it? How has it moved? You're going to find out any second. Let's count it down. 3, 2, 1. Here we go, and our swingometer is now 50-50 between a milder and a colder than average winter based on the previous 7th winter updates. So this is a swing from mild to cold. We have had a swing after the 7th update from mild to cold. Last week the swingometer was showing 53 to 47% in favour of mild. It swung to cold and is now at 50-50 on a knife edge. There we go. Look at that. It is really, really on a knife edge. There it is. And yes, that's nothing more you can say really, other than it is so finely poised after 7 updates at 50-50. Where will it go after this 8th update? That's the question. Will this 8th update continue the swing from mild to cold? If it does, we will start favouring a cold and average winter if it swings anymore back from mild to cold. So it'll be interesting to see, I think, what this 8th update does. But yeah, there we go. A swing from mild to cold after the 7th update, or after 7 updates. We now poised at 50-50. Thank you so much, Rich, for the swingometer. Wow, wow, wow. Exciting, isn't it? Exciting way to start this 8th update. Okay, let's have a look at solar activity events. So I'm going to pick this up where we left off with last week's 7th update, which was a solar special. So first thing we're going to look at is that solar activity. This is how the solar disk is looking on our side of this day. From solarham.net, we have 2 areas of interest, 2 sunspot regions, there and just there. There's another area that's beginning to develop, I think, just there as well. Moment solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 2 or 3 days. This is how the GavsWeatherVids Winter Update Solar Activity Tracker is looking this week, updated by Shryan. Thank you so much to Shryan Bruin for keeping this updated. So the orange line and the orange spots indicating each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. And then the thick red and thick green lines, they are our trend lines. So last week we did actually have, or in the past few days, you have actually had a couple of days that have been rather spotless. Solar activity over the past few days has crept up a little bit and is up there. However, it's still a pretty low level, but solar activity, to be honest, it isn't enough yet to move our trend lines upwards. Although the red line, I suppose, has ticked up slightly, but that's a 7-day average, so that moves, you know, that moves around quite a lot. The 30-day average of the green line, that is still trending downwards at the moment. But of course, if these days with sunspots continue, then we will see that green line beginning to lift up. Clearly, and we explained this last week when we did our solar special, clearly the trends are up. We are moving into, you know, into the more active phase of solar cycle number 25. Although, as we explained last week, it is a weak solar cycle. We are down with, like, the weakest of solar cycles. Again, very much on a par with solar cycle 24, really, in terms of sunspots for this cycle so far. So nothing particularly interesting going on, you know, nothing particularly outrageous or exciting going on. We just continue to be trending quite low with solar activity, which of course is interesting in itself because we've had a long solar maximum. And yeah, so we'll wait and see what happens after this. But I would suspect that even if we see solar activity really lifting up, and we may do this winter because, you know, we're progressing on in solar cycle 25, so we may see solar activity really lifting up through this winter. We'll wait and see about that. But even if we do, I reckon that the lag effect of being in a prolonged solar minimum again from solar cycle 24-25 will probably have quite a big effect, you know, on the winter, and we can expect, I think, an increase in winter blocking again this year. The question, of course, is where that increase in winter blocking is going to be. That is the unknown, and something that we cannot guarantee. Right, thank you so much to Shrine to that. Now let's see, who am I today? I'm just going to have a cough. I'm so sorry, everyone. Right, so let's see, who is Gav today? Here we go. Oh, wow, it's Gav Lecter. I've been turned into Hannibal the Cannibal by Richard. Hello, Clarice. Hello, Clarice. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into Dr. Lecter. Wow, villainous Gav. Villainous Gav today. Right, let's have a look then. This is showing Spotless days and also, thank you so much, Rich, and also the current Spotless stretch. So, for 2021 so far, we've had 60 days without sunspots. Well, it's now 20% of the calendar years up to this point. Compares to 2020, that's 208 days, that whole year without sunspots, that was 57% of the year. Of course, total minimum year was 2019 with 281 days, 77% of the year without sunspots. So, yeah, you know, it looks like solar activity it continued to be relatively weak. That is a high percentage for the second year of a solar cycle. 20% of the year without sunspots, you know, it is a high percentage for what is like the second year of the, coming to the end of the second year, actually, of solar cycle 25. So again, just confirms the idea that this is another slow old start to a solar cycle, as we know, and we are there with like the weaker solar cycles, such as the last one, solar cycle number 24. I don't see this solar cycle 25 deviating all that much from solar cycle 24, I have to say, in terms of total sunspot numbers. Of course, the unknown piece is how much energy is the sunspots we're getting emitting. They might be giving more energy than they did at this point in solar cycle 24. But in terms of raw sunspot numbers, this solar cycle 25 so far has been very, very close to solar cycle number 24. Wow, wow, wow. Hello, Clarice. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into Hannibal Lecter. Thank you so much to Rich and to Schreier for the data. Blimey. Good so far, isn't it? Right, let's have a look at the ocean. I'm so sorry, but let's have a look at the oceans then. And we've got our 4 areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region just here. We've got the Northern Pacific and including the Northeastern Pacific over there. We've got the Indian Ocean over here, and we've got the North Atlantic Ocean over there. That is how the oceans were looking when we did last week, 7th Winter 2021-2022 update. Let's have a look at the very latest then. Let's have a look. Here we go. So let's deal with the ENSO region. First of all, again, we still have a signature of La Nina quite clearly present there through the equatorial Pacific Ocean. The cold average sea surface temperature anomalies from Peru over to Indonesia telling us that La Nina is present. I don't think it's changed all that much over the past week. Let's go back to last week. That's how it looked through the equatorial Pacific along the equator of the Pacific Ocean last week. This is how it looks this week. I don't think that's changed all that much. It may have cooled a little bit just in that small area there, but I don't think that's overly different. I think it's greatly different over the past week. This is like a week to possibly getting to borderline moderate La Nina event, but I don't think it's strengthened particularly over the past week. Let's move north to the Northern Pacific. Again, that's how the Northern Pacific looked last week. Remember, we're focusing on this area in particular. That's how it looked last week. This is how it looks this week. I think we've seen a further expansion of those colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies up here. We now have a cold PDO that set up last month, Pacific Decade Oscillation, that set up last month, and it is still there this month. So September and October will be negative PDO months. What might be quite interesting to look at is what winters are like following negative September and October PDOs. We'll have to look at that, I think, in a future winter update, maybe even next week, who knows. But yeah, we've got a cold average Northern Pacific in response to the La Nina. It's cold average to the Southern equatorial Pacific Ocean as well. So Pacific generally looking pretty cold at the moment. Let's go over to the Indian Ocean. That's how the Indian Ocean was looking last week. Cool there. Warm through there. That's like a neutral to negative IOD, Indian Ocean dipole type signature. That's how it looks this week. Not much change. Still warm and average through there. It's not quite as cool over here. So that's more towards neutral for the IOD. But it's certainly not a positive. It's certainly not a positive signature for the Indian Ocean dipole. If it was, it would be cool there and warm there. We don't see much sign of that. So it looks like the IOD, as we're coming into the latter part of the autumn, is going to be like neutral, really neutral Indian Ocean dipole. And then over in the North Atlantic, it continues to look pretty warm there, I think. So again, this is how the North Atlantic was looking last last week. We did the 7th winter update. That's the very latest with the North Atlantic. No real change. A very warm North Atlantic continues. It continues to look really warm through there. For example, we see some temperatures in the tropics generally looking average or warm. It just generally looks very warm, doesn't it, across most parts of the North Atlantic. Not much more to say, really. Very warm into the Norwegian Sea as well, even on the western side of Greenland, between Greenland and Canada. Looks pretty warm there. So, all the colder than average sea zone temperatures are in the Pacific. There's not much sign of anything cold doing in the North Atlantic. So it does look as though, the warm North Atlantic that we've had for a very long time now. Even last winter we had a relatively warm North Atlantic. It's gone on since then. It's warmer this year, I think, than it was last year. But the warm North Atlantic we've had for a very long time, that continues. Now, this is how the overall temperature change is looking for the past 7 days. Remember, these are not anomalies. This is how temperatures, with the oceans and the seas have changed over the past 7 days. So the first thing to say is that in the ENSO region, not much change there. In fact, more areas have possibly warmed ever so slightly through the ENSO region compared to the areas that have cooled. There are 1 or 2 areas that have cooled just there, got a little bit colder over the past 7 days and just there. But I think overall, averaging out, probably more of a warming over the past 7 days than cooling. That's not to say that the La Nina is ending. It isn't. Just over the past 7 days, there hasn't really been much strengthening of the La Nina. In the Indian Ocean, generally the Indian Ocean has warmed in most areas over the past 7 days. So clearly it has warmed there, but it's also warming over here. And so overall, that keeps the IOD around neutral. Big cooling still going on in the northeastern Pacific. Well, generally in the northern Pacific, actually, right away from like Russia and Japan and all the way through there. This whole northern Pacific area is generally cooling a lot at the moment. Has done over the past several weeks, and it's continued over the past 7 days as well. So yeah, the cool down is definitely on in the northern Pacific. And then over in the Atlantic, so things have cooled a little bit through these areas over the past 7 days. However, we've already established that the sea surface temperatures are still warmer than average, even with that slight reduction in the temperature over the past 7 days, because they've been so very warm. Is that looking a little bit tripole-esque in terms of the 7-day change? So over the past 7 days, we have had some warming around here. We've had some cooling around here, though not yet cold as Termo's sea surface temperature is below average. We have had some cooling there. And through the tropics, it looks like the Atlantic has generally warmed. Now, that looks like a tripole, doesn't it, in terms of the 7-day change? Obviously, in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies, let's just go back to it, we do not have a tripole yet, because if we did, we would see it warm there, but we would also have an area that's cooler through here. So we haven't got the tripole yet, but in terms of the 7-day trend, and I think we're seeing this over a couple of weeks lately, in terms of a 7-day trend in the Atlantic, if that was to carry on trending like that over the next several weeks, over the next several 7-day periods, we would probably find our way towards a tripole, actually. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. This is how CFSB2 is looking in terms of La Nina. So still going for a strong La Nina. We've got our temperature anomalies on the side, but dates in month periods on the bottom of the chart. So all important number is half a degree below average. That's the minimum threshold for La Nina. We've reached that now. We're just here. So around 1 degree below average. Black dash is the ensemble mean. That's going down to around 2 degrees below average. That is a strong La Nina event. I still think it's overdoing it. I still think in the end it will start to pull up short. And interestingly, the blue lines are the latest ensemble blue members. And we have got a few of those now, just starting to pull up a little bit from that 2 degree below average mark, and just beginning to, centre around 1.5 degrees below average. That's like a moderate La Nina threshold. I reckon in the end it'll probably pull up even short of that. I think in the end it'll probably do something a little bit like that. So go to around 1 degree to around 1.3 degrees below average. It might get down to 1.5 degrees below average. I'd be surprised if it gets down to 2 degrees below average. You never say never, but we saw this last year with the CFS over there. It did get the trend right, La Nina. It correctly identified that we'd have a La Nina, but it overdid the strength of it at this point last year. And I think it's probably doing that again this year. This is how the SOI is currently looking. This is the Southern Oscillation Index from Queensland Government, part of Bureau of Meteorology. This is measuring air pressures between Tahiti and also between Darwin. These are the columns for barometric pressure for Tahiti. And this is the column barometric pressure for Darwin. And this is the overall SOI number. Now, when the SOI is positive, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is negative, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. We have lots of positivity of the SOI, as you expect with this developing La Nina. So the ocean and the atmosphere has coupled and produced what at the moment is a weak to borderline moderate La Nina event, I think. So we see here 12th of October plus 12 plus 14 on the 13th of October, 14th of October plus 16, 15th of October plus 21, 16th of October plus 28, 17th of October plus 19, 18th of October plus 21. On and on it goes, all of these positive numbers until we get to the very latest day, 23rd of October. That comes in at minus 22.118. Suddenly, atmosphere on the 23rd of October swung into a La Nina, into an El Nino type setup, swung away from La Nina to El Nino. You will expect day-to-day variations, you know, so that is not suggesting at all that we're going into an El Nino. We've got La Nina established, that will continue to the end of the year and into the winter. The only question is how strong will the La Nina get. But you will get day-to-day fluctuations, and that's what we see there, the 23rd of October with the Southern Oscillation Index reflecting El Nino. But the overall trend, of course, is very much like with La Nina. We see that from our 30-day average on this graph, which is the red line just here. That's solidly, very solidly positive territory. And the 90-day average also solidly positive. That's the yellow dash line just there. So everything's pointing towards La Nina. And the only question is how strong will the La Nina get. Connected to what the ocean's doing, particularly the Atlantic Ocean, but also to some degree to ENSO, is the Atlantic hurricane season. So this is the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season page from Wikipedia. So the scores on the doors are looking like this up to this point in the hurricane season. We've had 20 depressions so far, tropical depressions. We've had 20 tropical storms. We've had 7 hurricanes. And we've had 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. That is unchanged on last week. At the moment, we're going through a little bit of a shutdown in this hurricane season. This is how ACE is looking, accumulated cyclone energy. Shryan Brewing is keeping this updated for us, so thank you so much to Shryan doing that. We can go all the way back to 1851, the accumulated cyclone energy. Remember, each one of these hurricanes and storms giving out their own individual amount of energy, transporting heat via energy, basically, from the tropics to the poles. And so each one of these storms and hurricanes, you calculate how much energy they're giving, or they have given, and then you create an overall ACE score for the season. The seasons themselves are classified as below normal, near normal, above average, and hyperactive. Let's run down through the years, and we come down to 2021 just here, which has been updated up to today, the 23rd of October. So the total ACE score is still standing at 139.50, which makes this season above average, but not hyperactive, not yet. After 20 tropical storms, 7 hurricane and 4 major hurricanes. In terms of the running average, we're still above average, of course, for this season. So the running average up to 23rd of October, you would expect to have 94.70 for your ACE score. So we're well above that. You would expect to have 11 tropical storms. We've had 20. You'd expect to have 6 hurricanes. We've had 7. And you'd expect to have 3 majors. We've had 4. And so that's the reason this season is above average. How that compares to last week? No change. So last week, ACE was standing at 139.50. That's what it still is. There's been no developments over the past weeks. Have had a shutdown in the tropical Atlantic. After 20 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 majors, those numbers are unchanged. Up to this point, last year, we did the 8th Winter 2020-2021 update. ACE then was at 133.80, so still a little bit under where we are right now, but not much in it. That was after 26 tropical storms, 10 hurricanes and 4 majors, and at this point last year it was also above normal. Of course, it finished up hyperactive, and if there's still more to come in November with this hurricane season, then we will go hyperactive. There may well be more to come. There could be more to come with this season. And we'll see. I think we need one more sort of major hurricane to get us to hyperactive status. So we'll see how that plays out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Right, we talked for 25 minutes. I'm going to stop the video there. And when we come back, we're going to look at the Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, and we're going to have lots and lots and lots of stratospheric data as well. So you stretch your legs, and I shall see you in around 2 seconds. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume part 1 of the 8th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, everybody. We've still got so much more to show you. Where we left off a minute ago, we was looking at ACE, Accumulated Cyclone Energy, which of course is being updated weekly by Shryan. Thank you so much, Shryan. Brilliant for keeping that updated for us. Now we're going to bring you a lot on the upper atmosphere and the stratosphere. We're going to start off having a look at the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast. So this is how it's currently looking. The black line shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. The red line's at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. We're currently positive with the AO, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to stay positive. That tells us we've got low pressure over the Arctic at the moment. If you're in a negative AO, you'll have blocking high pressure over the Arctic, but if you in a positive AO, you'll have low pressure over the Arctic. So that tells us that at the moment got quite a bit of low pressure over the Arctic and also the North Pole. The NAO is looking like this. Quite interesting. The NAO is in a negative phase. So again, the black line shows where we've been with the NAO. We're at the end with GFS ensembles forecasting NAO to go. At the moment, we're just there. We're negative with the NAO, and the North Atlantic Oscillation is being forecast to stay negative up to the early part of November as well. So interesting that the AO is positive, but the NAO is negative. That's normally the other way around. It's normally the AO that tends to be negative, and the NAO tends to be positive. So that's quite interesting how that's working out. And it could be a sign of something a little bit colder as we move into the early part of November. We'll have to wait and see about that. This is how temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. We have actually got a warming, which is very, very unusual. A warming of the stratosphere is taking place over the North Pole at 10 HPA. This is not a sudden stratospheric warming. So there have been a few, I've seen a few people asking me whether we're having a sudden stratospheric warming. We are not. If we was, we would take a black line, up like that, up vertically. We're not doing that, but we have got like a minor warming of the stratosphere, which at this time of year is very unusual, because as the grey line shows, this would normally be a cooling part of the year. You'd expect that the temperature at 10 HPA gets colder and colder right way through to the winter. But as I say, the black line has lifted up there, telling us that a minor warming of the stratosphere is currently taking place at 10 HPA. We also have a minor warming, or I think we do, but can't really show that actually, so I'm not sure. There we go. So that's 10 HPA. What am I doing there? No, that's not showing. So that's not worked, has it? I can tell you, but I don't know what's happened there. It was working a moment ago. So, okay, that's not very good. There we go. There we go. It's come through for us. I've never had that happen before. How strange. So there we go. We are having another warming of the stratosphere at 30 HPA as well. So at both 10 and 30 HPA is close to the troposphere, of course. At both 10 and 30 HPA, there is a minor warming of the stratosphere taking place, which is very unusual for October. Normally, it would just be getting progressively colder from now through to the winter. In November, we're going to be looking to see whether we might be able to pull off a major warming of the stratosphere over Canada, because that's something that can happen in November at 30 HPA, not at 10 HPA, but at 30 HPA. You can sometimes in November get a major stratospheric warming over Canada. I don't think there's much suggestion of that at the moment, but of course we're still only in October. But yeah, both levels at 10 HPA and also at 30 HPA at both levels, there is a minor warming of the stratosphere over the North Pole currently taking place. This is how the GFS, latest GFS run, is forecasting temperatures to develop at 10 HPA over the next, in the stratosphere over the next couple of weeks. So you see the warming that's over there, over Siberia. That's what's pushed into the Arctic and lifted the temperature up, to some degree. Over the next week, it looks like we keep pretty cool temperatures going over the North Pole, as you expect, but nothing overly cold. We have got a bit of a displacement of the coldest temperatures, which means darkest blue colours. They're a little bit displaced over towards Northern Europe and also northwestern Russia. So, although this hasn't been enough to destroy the polar vortex, not enough of warming to destroy the polar vortex, it is enough to displace the polar vortex, actually. In the extended range of the GFS, that's how we look. So we get another quite significant warming taking place there over Russia. Again, very, very early this. It's into the first week of November, of course, but very early to be seeing warming of the stratosphere over Russia to that degree. That begins to push the polar vortex and its roots in the stratosphere back over towards Greenland and towards Canada, but will still be relatively weakened, I think, due to being moved around, by these warmings that we're currently seeing. By the time we get through to the 8th of November, looks like we're down to around minus 70, minus 72, something like that, 10 HPA, which on this is going to be about average. We'll probably see a black line dropping down to about average through the open of November, around minus 70, but certainly nothing overly dramatic going on in terms of stratospheric cooling, as we often get this time of year. No sort of plunge of the temperature at 10 HPA, and actually at the moment a warming of the temperature at both 10 and 30 HPA. This is how the ECMWF is from the University of Berlin. It's how ECMWF is forecasting temperatures at 30 HPA. Remember, in November we might get a warming of stratosphere over Canada, a major warming stratosphere over Canada at 30 HPA, so it's one of the areas to keep an eye on. At the moment, we see the warming that is going on at 30 HPA. This is for today, 23rd of October. That orangey colour there, that's like the warming that's currently taking place. They do helpfully indicate where the North Pole itself is, by the way, on these charts with that black X just there. Now, as we go out to 144 hours, we can see, but again, we just keep the temperature a little bit above average, really, over this side of the pole. That is sort of over towards the Canadian side of the Arctic and the North Pole. That displaces the polar vortex at its roots over towards northern Europe and northwestern Russia. And as we get through to the 1st of November, possibly signs of another little warming taking place there. That's more towards the Siberian side of the North Pole, but and the Arctic, but a little bit of a warming patch appearing there on the 1st of November. This will be the area to focus on through November. Could we get our first November stratospheric warming over Canada, major warming of stratosphere over Canada in November? Could we get that this year for the first time in a very, very long time? I think you've got to go back many years for the last time we had one. So could this be the year? We will keep a very close eye on 30 HPA. This is how the ECMWF is forecasting temperatures in the stratosphere at 10 HPA over the next 6 weeks. So we start off, of course, with the anomaly showing a major warming currently taking place with those, or a significant warming anyway, currently taking place with those sort of dark red anomalies. And so the temperature is probably around 10 degrees above average. Of course, it can go much, much higher than that, though. When you get a southern stratospheric warming, it will go like 40, 50, 60 degrees above average when you get a southern stratospheric warming. So I wonder how dramatic that will look on these charts. It'll be interesting when we get a southern stratospheric warming, won't it? But that looks dramatic enough, doesn't it? Going to around 10 degrees above average. That's week one, from the 1st to the, from the 25th, I should say, 1st of November, so next week. This is how it looks in terms of the anomalies in the stratosphere at 10 HPA for week 2. Again, looking pretty warm, not as warm as it is in week 1, but still above average. Week 3 sort of takes the warm average temperatures at 10 HPA, anomalies over towards Russia, begins to cool them down a little bit over Canada. That's how we're going to get through to week 4, 15th to 22nd of November. Again, warming over the Eurasian side of the pole a little bit cooler over towards the Canadian side of the pole. That is week 5. So, yes, it's the 22nd, 29th of November. Warming again, focus on average anomalies at 10 HPA, focus on like northern Russia. Nice cool, though, you'll notice, over Canada. Might that be picking up on some sort of warming that's going to go on over Canada later on in November. And then that's how we look as get through to week 6, is 29th of November to the 6th of December. Looks warmer then with the anomalies over on this side of the Arctic. But nothing particularly cold showing up. And of course, this is the time of year when you expect the temperature at 10 HPA to be getting ever colder, and usually going colder on average. So we're not seeing any sign of these dark blue colours appearing at 10 HPA over North Pole. So stratosphere-wise, been continuing to look very, very, very interesting, I have to say. This would be extended zonal mean. This would be extended zonal mean, zonal wind at 10 HPA forecast from the ECMWF for the next 6 weeks. So this is like, the zonal winds are like measuring the strength of the westerlies, if you like. So the zonal winds are what drive the polar vortex. So as the temperature gets colder, you expect at 10 HPA stratosphere, over pole you expect, as the temperature gets colder, you expect the zonal winds to get stronger. At the moment, the zonal winds are very, very, very weak. Look at this, we're down here, and this is like average. So yeah, you know, we're very much colder. Weaker than average, I should say, with the strength of zonal winds at the moment. It's actually record-breakingly cold, I think, actually, that's showing right now for this point of the year. Now, let's go through the first half of November. Through November, generally, does look as though the zonal winds will power up. So that's the ensemble beam, that thick blue line just there. So, yeah, that is, you know, it is starting to power up a little bit as we get through November. We will see the zonal winds getting stronger, but nothing overly strong being suggested there. And some of these ensemble members do actually keep zonal winds very weak and actually have a reversal of zonal winds. They're outliers, of course, but from a stratosphere perspective, there's nothing sort of indicating that the polar vortex is about to power up. Let's have a look at some forecast data. This is how zonal winds are being forecast for this winter from the ECMWF seasonal model. This is at Copernicus.eu. So, generally weaker than average with zonal winds over this winter. The dates in monthly periods on the bottom of the chart just here. That takes us to February and March. The black line is like the trend, so you'd expect zonal winds to be around there in terms of their strength sometime around the beginning of January. The blue line is the ensemble mean. You can see that is below average, so zonal winds will remain weaker than long-term averages into the winter. We do have like a cluster here of ensemble plume members that are going for like a reversal of zonal winds. That's that zero line just there. Reversal of zonal winds around sort of late December into January. That would probably be via a southern stratospheric warming. But even if we do not get a southern stratospheric warming, zonal winds definitely by the ECMWF model being forecast to be weaker than average. The JMA zonal wind forecast, well, his winter looks like that. So this one is going up to average. It actually goes a little bit stronger than average with the zonal wind as we get into the second half of winter. The black line there is the trend line, and actually the blue line, the ensemble mean, is a little bit above average. So the JMA does power the zonal winds up after a weakish start through November and December. It does get them stronger the second half of the winter. DWD, the German model, actually going for very, very weak zonal winds. Remember, the black line is the trend line. You know, that's where zonal winds should be as you get through towards January. Nearly all ensemble plume members with the DWD model are below that, actually. And see how significantly below the trend this blue line is, which is the ensemble mean, remember. That's significantly below the trend line. So the DWD is very weak with zonal winds, and a lot of them are going for reversal. A lot of these ensemble plume members going for reversal of zonal winds with the DWD into some of them like late November, some of them into December. So yeah, that's like the weakest, I think, with zonal winds. And then the UK Met, our own UK Met Office model looks like that. And again, remember, the black line is the trend line from this point of view. So zone of winds should be around there in strength, sometime around the new year. Blue line is the ensemble mean, and again, that is below average. So yeah, and again, we see like a cluster of ensemble blue members, particularly December into January, but again for a reversal of zone of winds via a southern stratospheric warming. But even if we do not get a reversal of zone of winds via a southern stratospheric warming, it does look as though zone of winds will be weaker than average through to the end of this year anyway, and possibly even into the start of next year. And of course, if the zone of winds are weaker than average, then the polar vortex is going to be weaker than average, and possibly at times displaced via these warmings that we're currently seeing. I think that's probably what's going on, that we're getting a displacement of the polar vortex that is weakening the overall strength of the PV. So from a stratosphere perspective, it all looks really, really interesting, I have to say. The most interesting I can remember at this point, you know, of the year going into the last part of the autumn, normally we see the zone of winds and the polar vortex, you know, really powering up and the temperature plummeting. So what's going on this year is very, very different and very unusual. Right, okay, so we've talked now for 40 minutes. I'm going to pause the video there. When we come back, just got our final section of this video to show you, and that'll be focusing on Eurasian snow cover, which I know is a fan favourite. You'll be seeing that in a moment. I shall see you in around 2 seconds. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the final section of part 1 of the 8th Winter 2022 2021-2022 update. If you enjoyed the video so far, please smash your like button, everybody. Make sure to sub to the channel. Give me see future weather content if you do that. And drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our winter updates. Thank you so much. Right, we're going to bring you some data for Eurasian snow cover next. So, let's do this then. This is how things look in terms of Eurasian and Scandinavian snow cover when we did last week's 7th update. So, of course, we're focusing on Russia and Siberia and also on Scandinavia as well. That's how it looked last week as of 15th of October. This is the latest that we have. This is for Friday, 22nd of October. Massive expansion of snow cover across Russia and also across Scandinavia as well. So compared to last week to this week, clearly a big increase in snow cover has taken place across both Russia and also across Scandinavia. So we have really had some major gains for snow cover over the past week, particularly over Scandinavia, actually, which is a little bit unusual for this part of October. Let's start looking at some past years then, and comparing. So I'll just begin to close down some of these tabs as we go along, makes it a little bit more easier for me. So remember, this is how we look right now. So this is last year, 2020. So, actually, we're quite comparable, I think, to last year. We did get a big expansion of snow cover last year across Russia. Probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. Very close to this point last year for Scandinavian snow cover. So, interesting that 2 years back-to-back are doing something very similar. That is 2019. 2019 has more snow cover this year than in 2019 across Scandinavia. Perhaps a little bit less, though, across Russia, but probably quite equally matched for Russia, actually. But definitely more this year across Scandinavia than in 2019. That's 2018, and clearly we are well ahead this year of 2018 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That is 2017, so we are ahead of 2017 for Scandinavian snow cover at this point, quite clearly. In terms of Russian snow cover, we've probably been ahead of Russia for Russian snow cover as well this year. That's 2016. What do you think about that one? Yes, we're definitely ahead of 2016 for both Russian and particularly Scandinavian snow cover. Well ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2015. We are ahead of 2015, substantially so for Scandinavian snow cover. Maybe a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That's 2014. We're behind 2014 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2013. We are ahead of 2013 for Scandinavian snow cover, and probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That's 2012. We are ahead, I should say, significantly so, ahead of 2012 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2011. We're ahead of 2011 for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. That is 2010. We are ahead of 2010 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. We are doing very, very well for Scandinavian snow cover, I have to say. That's 2009. We're actually a little bit ahead of 2009 now, I think, in terms of Scandinavian snow cover. And that was a year that had a major increase in snow cover, actually, in October over Scandinavia. So we're ahead of both Russian snow cover and Scandinavian snow cover this year to 2009. That is 2008. We're ahead of 2008 for Scandinavian and also Russian snow cover. We're ahead of 2007 for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. We're ahead of 2006 for Scandinavian snow cover. Perhaps a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That is 2005. We're ahead of 2005 for Scandinavian snow cover and also for Russian snow cover. We're ahead of 2004 for Scandinavian snow cover, maybe a little bit behind or closely matched for Russian snow cover. That is 2003. Think about that one. Yes, we're ahead of 2003 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover at this point. That's 2002. Don't we make of that one? We're behind 2002 probably for Russian snow cover, but I reckon we might be a little bit ahead overall, in terms of overall coverage anyway, for Scandinavian snow cover, although the snow did get down all the way to the south of Norway at this point in 2002, so that's a little bit of a different year, probably quite closely matched in terms of total coverage over Scandinavia, but the areas that are covered are a little bit different. That's 2001, so we're ahead of 2001 for Scandinavian snow cover, and probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That's 2000. We're just well ahead in all areas, Scandinavia and Russia, this year than we was at this point, 2000. 1999, we look like that, so ahead of 1999 for Scandinavian snow cover and also Russian snow cover, and we're also ahead of 1998 for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. We're doing great guns. We're going great guns for snow cover, particularly over Scandinavia. A lot of these years are relatively close for Russia, but for Scandinavian snow cover, there are not all that many years there, right way back to 1998, that have as much snow as we have right now over Scandinavia. So we have had a very, very significant increase, historically, in snow cover over Scandinavia. So I'm just going to go back through these, and then we'll go even further back in time. Right, okay, let's do this then. So we're going to have a look at 1997. First of all, this is how snow cover was looking across Scandinavia and also across Eurasia at this point in 1997. So, what do you think about that? You've got to change head around with this, of course. We are ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. We're probably quite close for Russian snow cover. This year we're ahead of 1997 Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1996. We're ahead again of 1996 for Scandinavian snow cover. Probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. That is 1995. I reckon we're probably quite closely matched 1995 for Scandinavian snow cover and behind for Russian snow cover. That's 1994. Probably closely matched for Russian snow cover and a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1993. We're behind for Russian snow cover and probably a little bit ahead though for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1992. Again, probably quite closely matched for Russian snow cover and ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1991, ahead of 1991 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1990, which we are also ahead of for Scandinavian snow cover. And probably quite closely matched for Russian snow cover. That's 1989. Again, ahead of 1989 for Scandinavian snow cover. Probably quite close for Russian snow cover. That's 1998, ahead of 1988 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. Ahead of 1987 as well. Barely any snowfall at all. Snow cover at all across Scandinavia at this point, 1987. So obviously we're well ahead of 1987 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. 1986, we're ahead of that year too, particularly for Scandinavian snow cover. 1985, we're ahead of that year for Scandinavian snow cover, in particular. Probably also for Russian snow cover, 1984, ahead of that year for Scandinavian snow cover. It's remarkable what we've seen for snow cover over Scandinavia over this past week. We're ahead of 1984 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. 1983, ahead of that year. 1982, we're behind 1982 for Russian snow cover. probably a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That year is a little bit closer. 1981, we're ahead of 1981 for Russian snow cover. Probably ahead just about for Scandinavian snow cover too. That's 1980, ahead of 1980 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1979, which we're ahead of for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1978. Now this year, 1978, we're probably quite close to that for Scandinavian snow cover. And a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. 1970, so that's 1978, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's 1976, we're behind 1976 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. 1975 looks like that, so yeah, so where's 77? I've not got 77. Oh, that's annoying. Never mind, we'll go on. 1975, we are behind 1975 for both, we're ahead, I should say, 1975, both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. 1974, we're behind that for Scandinavian snow cover, probably a little bit ahead for Russian snow cover. 1973, we're behind, clearly, 1973 for Russian snow cover, as it was already pushing into Europe, snow cover then, and probably behind for Scandinavian snow cover as well. 1972, that looks like that, so behind that year as well. This year, 1971, we're behind 1971 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover too. 1970, we're ahead of for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. No data for 1969. 1968, we're behind 1968 for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. 1967, we're ahead of for Scandinavian snow cover, and probably behind for Russian snow cover. And then 1966, we're behind for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. I'll just show you 1977 as I mislaid it, so I can put that through as well. And in terms of 1977, we are ahead of 1977 for Scandinavian snow cover, but for Russian snow cover, probably a little bit behind. We're doing great for snow cover. There's no problem with snow cover at all. In terms of Scandinavian snow cover, we really are doing remarkably well. Actually, we have done over the past week. Lastly, we just want to look at QBO. So yes, just to confirm that Quasi Biennial Oscillation is in its easterly phase. We see that from this chart from NASA. ECQBO continues. It continues to strengthen. If we zoom in, we can see that very much a case that the ECQBO getting stronger. If anything, just above the troposphere, just above 30 to 50 HPA. So yeah, the ECQBO goes on. You can see how it is descending, you know, with this blue-green area descending down from the stratosphere up here to the troposphere down there. The ECQBO continues, and that's what we're going to be looking at tomorrow for part 2 of this 8th winter 2021-2022 update. We're going to be looking at the QBO. Big old analog set tomorrow, therefore. One of the key drivers of the weather, and particularly of the winter weather, is the Quasi Biennial Oscillation. We're going to have an easterly QBO. It's going to be a strong easterly QBO, I think. And so, very simply, when we look at our analogs tomorrow, we're going to be looking at winters that are coinciding with strong easterly QBOs, and we'll see, do they favour a cold winter? We'll have a look at that tomorrow. Remember, when you're in an easterly QBO, you weaken the zone of westerlies. When you're in a westerly QBO, you strengthen the zone of westerlies. So you'd expect that an easterly QBO, strong easterly QBO, will coincide with an increased chance of a cold winter, but we'll go through the data on that tomorrow. And yeah, so part 2 of this 8th winter update will be a QBO special. Will be released at 6 PM tomorrow on Monday, the 25th of October. Wow, wow, wow. We've talked for over 15 minutes. It's been another winter updates epic. I hope you enjoyed it, everybody. If you have, please smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. You're going to be able to see future weather content. You can do that, including future winter updates. And drop a comment right now and let us know what you think about this winter update part 1. I'll be back at 6 PM with our live stream, so I shall see you then live at 6. But for part 1 of the 8th winter 2021-2022 update, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.